everyone to this next interview of the She Shakes the World interview series. I am so delighted to introduce you to my next guest, Kerryn Fields. You are going to love her. She has very generously come here today. She has a very deep story that feels she is ready to share with you, and it's a story that is going to touch you, it's going to move you. And from some difficult times, Kerryn has managed to really overcome a lot of difficult moments in her life to really step into her purpose and shine her light and really go about serving the world in a really beautiful way. And I'm so delighted that she's here sharing this story with you today. I'm going to let you introduce herself, tell us how she shakes the world, and we're going to take you through this story. And I want you to listen, I want you to feel, and I really want you to take what you need to take from listening to this conversation today. So Kerryn, thank you for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me today to share the story at the time that I'm right to do so. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do let us know a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do, how you shake the world, and then we will take everyone through this journey of yours.
Okay, great. So I'm originally from South Africa. I've been in the UK for, gosh, just under half my life now as well. Just love it here. I've been married for about 6 years. I've got two young children. I've got two cats. I'm an animal lover. And I have run my own business, my agency, which is called Kuba Communications. I'm a PR consultant and I work with purpose-driven clients. I've only recently set it up, and the goal to shake the world has always been there. I've always been somebody who wants to do things, and growing up had all these ideas but didn't know how to do it. Came from very conservative, traditional society in South Africa where you did things by the book. And it's since I've started my entrepreneurial journey that I've actually really been able to believe in myself and actually go through all this work to realize those dreams that I wanted to achieve are what I'm going to be doing. So the goal at the moment is to shake the world by working with these purpose-driven clients that have such an important message. They're all giving back in some way, whether it be social impact, whether it be environmental impact. And my way of doing that shaking is to build them up so that we create more demand for example, sustainable products, or for companies that are doing things for charities, so that the corporates that are there already have to start adjusting what they're doing to meet that demand. And then on top of that, I can also do something later on to give back in my way. And I'll talk about it when we go through my story about some of the experiences that I've had, that why these things are important for me. And then also some of the way I'm shaking the world is I write children's picture books about self-belief for children, so that they don't go through what I've been through, but they learn from an early age how to love themselves and love others, so that they can achieve their dreams from a young age, really.
Oh, Kerryn, this is so inspiring. As you're talking, it's because when I get chills, I know it's confirmation that
Oh, wow.
what you're doing is having an amazing effect. And I
That's,
had so many chills running through my body, just so
oh,
you know, as you were sharing that. So what you're doing is just incredible. And I know
thank
it's
you.
been a journey for you to get there. So let's begin to share this story, share this journey, just to show others that from like I said, from difficult times can
Mm,
grow beautiful things.
absolutely. And I really do believe that we all go through some sort of trauma in our lives, and it's
Yes.
how we choose to see it and either grow from it or not. Hopefully we do grow from it and take the learning that helps us to become those. And it's a cliche, but it's true, the diamond from the rough stone.
Yes.
um yeah, and become our true selves and
Yeah.
live our purpose.
Yeah. Yes. Deep breaths. So
Yeah.
you're doing really well. I know this is difficult for you.
Thanks.
So you said there was kind of like three different stages of your of your journey, and but basically made you feel like you grew up with a lot of shame around you.
Yeah.
So are you able to share some of what happened
Yeah.
and how you overcame that, and knowing that you are being supported and you're being held as you share this story?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's the first time I'm really talking about it
I
publicly.
know
So,
you're
but it
doing
is
a great
something
job.
thank you. I'm really passionate about educating people, and that's part of what I do. So I'll start when I was a child. I wasn't, thankfully I wasn't abused. I wasn't neglected. I wasn't, I had a healthy, happy home.
Mm,
But I think where I was always the peacemaker because my parents were divorced, and my one sister always would stay at my father's side, and my other sister would only ever stay at my mum. So I would move in between as I was the youngest, and I felt that I always needed to try and keep the peace, and I didn't want to make anyone feel bad. Um, so that was part of it. But I I would often ask for things and not be given it. So I remember I would ask for a kitten when I was younger for years and years and years and years and years. And I probably asked 100 times and I was never given one. But my sister was asked once and was given a dog. And it's not like my parents didn't love me. I just don't think they had the knowledge to um, to foster my strengths. And they were going through their own journeys, and I think that's where I've learned to forgive them as an adult, as I've grown up, that we're all just doing the best we can with the knowledge we have, right? So, but how it came out for me is that I was always
absolutely.
bullied. Yeah,
Yes.
I was always bullied or rejected from social situations. I mean, at school, no one wanted to be friends with me. I was redhead, I was fat, I was buck teeth, I was ugly, I had no confidence. And even, I had nobody would be friends with me. And eventually I latched onto these two girls, bless them. And they one day turned around, and I was 10, and they said to me, "We don't want to be friends with you." And they left me. And I just remember sobbing my head off because I just felt like I had no one. And I think that's what happened for me in the home life, is that nobody was really fighting my corner for me while I was being bullied or dominated. And that kind of made me feel, and also like switching between the homes all the time, I never really had my own place. I never had my own place in the world. So I learned not to be an inconvenience for anybody. I learned to shrink and be invisible, and to say thank you for everything. So I was in my 20s before I learned how to stop saying thank you as every second word and being grateful for. And I'm not saying that I'm not grateful, but I was I was to the extreme where everything was just like, and I had to be really grateful for anything that got thrown my way, kind of thing. So that really gave me a really low self-confidence as I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I think that was what shaped a lot of me. But one of the blessings that I had is my mom, when I was about 13, became a spiritualist, and she had some of these books around the house of, the power of the mind, and those kinds of things, which were a lifesaver. They showed me that there were other things outside of me, and actually, dig in. And I'm a Scorpio as well, so I was very introspective and soul searching. So I clung on to that to give me my life support, which was and has been the thread throughout my whole entire life. Um, so that was up until I was a teenager, and as a result of having that low self-esteem, when I was a teenager, I started smoking at 13 years old, really, really early.
Yeah.
I mean, I finally got into a group of friends who became my tribe, and they were brilliant, and I'm still friends with them to this day. And but we all started drinking together and partying and finding out about boys. And it wasn't. I think for me, the overarching thing was that I was looking for love, but in the wrong places. And we say
Yeah.
that, but it's just showing me now as a mum, and just as a person as well, how we are all just about love, really. And just, yeah, it's just a really big learning for me, I think, is just when people are acting out or doing things, don't just assume they're nasty people or unkind people. Like, they're looking for love in some way, and to just be a bit more tolerant and be a bit
Yeah.
more understanding. And I literally use this analogy when I'm driving, and I get irritated with other people who in my mind driving badly, but actually I've analyzed my thinking and I've realized, well, maybe they're just doing the same thing as me and they're in a rush, and actually maybe they're trying to get somewhere, or maybe they're, turning the radio down or something, whatever it is, but just
Yeah.
be more tolerant rather than just reacting and getting angry with how other drivers are. So it's
Yeah.
little things that I then bring into my life as well. Anyway, back to the story. So yeah, so then when I was growing up with the drinking, and I think it was just, I cut myself off from my family, and I was just, it's understandable now looking back, but I wasn't that easy to live with. And when I was about 19, I left home and I came to the UK, and it just blew my mind. And it was just, you could be yourself, you could just be anybody, and nobody would really bat an eyelid. But I was able to then find myself without all this judgment, because South Africa it is very conservative and very, if you don't live within the confines, you are a black sheep and you're labeled, and there's stereotypes, and
Yeah.
you can't ever be who you really are. I didn't feel. So yeah, so I came to the UK, and I loved it. But I then was here for a while, and then I went back home and I went to university. And unfortunately, while I was at university, this is where this might be triggering for some people, I was raped. And that's when I think I was already just having, drinking a lot anyway. So I don't completely blame it, but I also handled the rape really badly because I felt so much shame about it. And I went into overdrive with drinking, and not being suicidal, but it was really depressing. I didn't know, because I was so ashamed of myself, I didn't know who to talk to, and I didn't want to tell my friends that much, and it just bottled it all up inside of me.
Yeah.
And doing that is another thing I've learned. It's the worst thing you can do. You've got to talk about these things to be able to get the support that you need and be able to get through it. But anyway, at the time, I did go for a little bit of therapy, but I just couldn't see the wood for the trees at that point, and I think I just internalized everything. And then I came back to the UK, and
So was that your way of dealing with it?
absolutely, yeah. And again, that's not,
Internalizing it? Was that, yeah.
yeah. And another reason that why I was ashamed of myself.
I was gonna ask. Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh,
carry on.
carry on. Sorry, carry on.
No, please
No, I was
ask.
just gonna ask um about the internalizing thing. Do you think that that was the only thing that you could do at the time, your way of dealing with it? And what would you say to someone who maybe is listening thinking, wow, I know I'm internalizing stuff. Um, is there a way that help you get through that help you to get to really not to bottle all that up?
Absolutely. And for me, the thing is, not necessarily for my rape, but later on, and I'll come onto that in a while,
Yeah.
is when I was depressed, I got, again, I was, holding it all up, and it was 17 years later, but I was still holding all of that emotion inside of myself. But when I got depressed, I started talking about it to people and just saying, oh, my close friends, I've been put on citalopram for depression, and actually, thinking people would judge me for it, but they would turn around and say, oh, I've been on antidepressants for years. I'll be like, what? And then I would speak to another person, and they were like, oh yeah, I've been dealing with that depression as well. And like all these people, and every single person almost that I would speak to would be in the same boat. And then for me, it just lifted that taboo on it, to just be able to speak about it. And now I'm quite happy to speak about the depression that I went through and how I fixed it. But the main thing for me was speaking about it in the first place. And it was through my depression that was the trigger point for me to start doing the inner work of releasing the shame around the rape. And that's when I started going to, again, I went to, because I'd been to therapy for a few sessions after the rape, but it was too soon, I think.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the right therapist either. I don't think they knew how to handle it properly, which is why I then did internalize it. But when I did start speaking about the rape as well to my nearest and dearest, they were so supportive of me. And they helped me to see that I needed to go and get the help as well. So I eventually did go to a therapist to completely change my perspective. It wasn't my fault. All this time, I've been 17 years, I've been holding on to it as it was my fault. And actually, no, if you've been raped, it is not your fault. It is somebody else's choice to do that to you. That is not your fault. And you shouldn't have that shame. And I know it's, I've lived through it. So I know it is easier said than done, but to have that perspective. And when I went to that therapist and he helped me to see that, and he went through this, the therapy that he took me through was to kind of ask me all these questions. And then once I'd answered all the question about the rapist and how I felt about him and what I would say to him if I met him, he then turned it and said, okay, now ask all those questions of yourself.
Wow.
And it was so powerful. And it was what I needed at that time to be able to break those walls down, because over those 17 years of shame, I built all these walls around myself. I didn't let anybody in. It was safer to do that. And we push people away because, we don't want them to hurt us again. And it's a whole protection thing. So our brain, and I've learned this now through doing CPD, it is, protecting ourselves. So we put these mechanisms in place, but it's about recognizing those patterns and saying, I do want love. That's our fundamental purpose as human beings. And it's okay to admit that. It's, I was very afraid to admit any of that because I've had my childhood upbringing, which is where I was never given love. So it was not something I knew to ask for. But now, how I treat my children and the lessons that I've learned through all of this is just give love to everybody. So it's just, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent there, but
no, but it's like sometimes these tangents are fantastic. These are the tangents we need to go down.
Yeah.
So go down tangents if you need to go down them, because there'll be people who need to hear who need to hear what you're saying. So such a deep story, and from such difficult times, and that whole 17 years, it felt like you sort of held everything together. What so and that and what then, and obviously then you ended up, like you said, understandably feeling depressed because everything had just been shut down, I imagine. And then you suddenly felt that you had the space to talk about it, because actually there were other people who were, if I understood this correctly, being through, not feeling the depression as well. How did you get through that then? So how did you get through the depression to be to the point where you're able to now be doing what you're doing and feeling like you're stepping into your purpose and feeling more love and more joy? How did you get through that, and how could somebody listening right now who is maybe feeling quite low and quite depressed, and what tips would you give them for getting through that?
So I think for me, the things that I did were, I can't remember why. I went to the GP, and I think it was because I wasn't sleeping. And when I would drive home from work, I would get these like micro little flashes where I would feel like I would lose consciousness. But so I went to the doctor to go check that out, and he asked me a couple of questions. And this is, back in 2012 even before that. And he said, he gave me a form to fill out, which I did all the questions. And he said, oh, the results of this are that you're depressed. And I was like, I'm not depressed. And I just burst into tears, like out of nowhere, because I was always so strong. And I had made myself rock hard iron, nothing penetrated me. It was, and I think the part of that process was then going on the citalopram, getting the help to clear my mind. And actually I think at that stage I was very much, I don't want to be depressed. There's a stigma around it, and I don't want to be, I'm not that person, I denied it completely. And eventually when I gave in and I accepted, actually, I'm not dealing with the things I should be dealing with. I do want a better life. I don't want to be on my own anymore, because I'd said, no, well, I'm not even going to get married. I'm not going to have children. I'm going to just focus on my career. And I completely threw myself into my career and I got really successful. And that made me start loving myself in a one way, which was great because I think that started giving me the confidence. So I think it's about finding a way to love yourself. That was one of the key steps in the process.
Yeah.
Um, Even if it was a little bit displaced, but I was through that confidence that had started growing, I was able to start then with the citalopram and getting some clarity and some help with that. And then the therapy, it all started help, and the willingness from myself to knock down my walls. That's the big
Yeah.
thing.
I was
Um,
going to say that that's almost that you need to get to that point where you decide, okay, I know I've got these walls around me and I know part of me is trying to protect myself, but there is a different way. And just admitting that you're struggling, or admitting that you've got these walls, or admitting that is, and accepting it, accepting where you're at
yeah,
is is definitely, I would say, the first stage. And I think sometimes when you accept it, the walls begin to sort of come down themselves.
yeah, yeah. Because I think the walls did start coming down easily after that point. It
Yeah.
was, I want the help. I need to
Yes.
find it. What can I do? And my life just completely changed from that point forward.
Amazing.
It really was, it was beautiful. It is beautiful. And it just keeps getting better now because I've aligned with myself. I've accepted myself for who I am. Um, and it wasn't a quick journey either. I mean, like it took me 17 years of shame. It took me from 2012 to where we're now 22. So it's 10 years to be in this place where I am now. But oh my goodness, what a journey. And I wouldn't take any of it back if it can help other people to transform and learn from their traumas, whatever they may be,
Yeah.
to know that, yes, unfortunately, we do go through traumas, but it's the learning that we take from it that gets us to where we need to be and find our purpose, really.
Yeah.
Um,
That's so beautiful that you could take such a difficult moment in your life and turn it into your purpose.
Absolutely. Because it's through all of this that's made me realize. So I've changed jobs and I'm now working in a different way. So I'm running my business on the side as well, with permission, of course. But it's just helped me to realize that if I'm doing this PR work, yes, I've worked for the big corporates and I know how they work, but there wasn't a real purpose in them. And I really did start getting jaded towards the end about, I want to be giving back. That is my purpose. And especially now that I've connected with my soul. And it's taken me a few extra years because of the confidence factor, but I've been building on that and I've had kids and, there's been, some health issues with that's, held me back a little bit, but it's all been good because in 2020, there was a death in our near family, and it made me realize, being that close to it, that in the face of death, our fears and insecurities are insignificant. They don't mean anything. And I've been wanting to follow this dream of setting up my agency for at least 15 years. And it just gave me the kick up the butt that I needed to go and follow my dreams and to know who I am. And that's why, as part of that, working out what I wanted to do and going to do it, I wanted to work with people like yourself and all my other clients who do something to give back and help other people, because for me, that's what life is about. We're all here to collaborate and work together for the greater good. So yeah, so that's where I am now. And it's just, I know it's right, because one thing I've learned in my life is that when things are right, the doors fling open and things just like
They do.
water flows rushing through, right? It's just so
Yes.
right, and everything aligns
Yeah.
to get. And if it's not
Yeah.
working, it's not right for you right now, or maybe it's not right at
Yeah.
all, but don't keep banging on that same door. And yeah, so anyway, so having found my purpose and my vision and my direction, it's just been phenomenal. This entrepreneurial journey, I never expected it, but it has just been incredible to learn so much more about myself
Yeah.
and to the purpose, like just working with people who are just so open and connected in the same way. It's just been amazing.
Yeah. I think I think that happens on the entrepreneurial journey. Um, I think going on the entrepreneurial journey
Yeah.
makes you look inside. It makes you look at yourself. It makes you do the deep work. It's a deep journey, but it's an amazing journey. It has it ups and downs,
Yeah.
but I you but it's totally worth it. Um, Wow, I can really see you shining now. And when you talk about where you are now, you beam,
Yeah.
you smile, your energy just opens up, and it's so lovely to see
Thank
that
you.
you're so sort of working in your flow now. Um, Karen, thank you for sharing
Oh,
everything that you shared today. I
pleasure.
know it wasn't necessarily the easiest thing for you to do, but I know you were ready to share it, and I'm sure what you said is going to impact the right people who need to hear who needed to hear your story. Karen, I have one more question for
Yes,
you,
sure.
and it is, um, why is it important right now, you think, that some of us stand up and break down our barriers and work through those walls? Um, why do you think it's important that we do that?
You just give me absolute goosebumps. So gosh, trying to get my thoughts in there
Yeah.
is I recognize in what I do in communications that each of my clients, I get into the why of their business. And I see what they've been through, like myself, that has driven them to do what they're doing because they're finding their passion and their purpose. I also see when I network with people how we all work together. We It's like a puzzle. And there was a documentary on Netflix a couple of maybe 2 years ago, and it was all about a club in the 80s in London. And it was created by a whole bunch of fashion designers and musicians and a whole bunch of people that were all friends. And then somehow I think it was called the Blitz or something like that. And then they created this club. And I remember they had all of them talking about it in the documentary. And one of them said, we all stand on each other's shoulder pads, and that's how they got ahead, and that's how this club and their businesses became so heady in the height of London in the 80s, was because they all supported each other. And I see this in the networking group that we're in, that we're all supporting each other and we're all fitting this puzzle, and we've all got these dreams, and we're going ahead and doing them. But if we're not who we really are, we can't be a part of that puzzle, and we can't be working towards the future that we need. So recently I was being interviewed by Lyra Kanan about a vision for humanity. And this was very much a part of that, is that we see so many apocalyptic doom and gloom movies. I refuse to watch them because I
Yeah,
don't
I
need
don't
to
watch them.
see, no, I don't need to see that energy. I don't need to visualize that, because the power of the mind is so, we know,
Mm.
incredibly strong. If I'm imagining those things, I know that I manifest good things. I don't want to manifest those. But then if we're all finding our true purpose, if we're all being who we are, we create this puzzle. We're going to create the future that is bright and positive and amazing and magical. And don't we want that, rather? So this is why it is so important to let ourselves, love each other, support each other, grow this magical world. I can just see, oh, I'll just get so excited.
I can feel you
Absolutely.
beaming, and that's wow. I love everything that you just said, and like you said, that's why we need to be courageous and break down those barriers and let go of our limitations and work through some of that internal stuff, because then we'll be standing in our purpose, in our being our authentic selves, and be able to almost like rise, like support, right,
Absolutely.
and also get the support to, if you are in that process, we're all on a journey of unpeeling our layers, but
Yeah.
find people who are there to support, who want to lift you up through that. So find that support network, find those people who are maybe on similar journeys, who want to hold you through
Yeah.
this. Find your tribe. And if you've got people who maybe aren't on your wavelength or do pull you down, you sometimes it's hard to get a step away from them, especially if they're family members, but
Yeah.
find those people that want to lift you up, that light you up, that can support you through it. Because
Yeah.
especially if you're an entrepreneur as well, not
Mm,
necessarily if you're an entrepreneur, but anybody, but really find your tribe to support you whilst you're doing that as well, who will cheer you on. Because I know for me, that's certainly been massive for me, and I'm sure it's been massive for you as well.
huge,
Yeah,
huge.
yeah,
And I'd really like to see, and this is part of my future vision and where I am going to be shaping the world, is educating our sons on how it's not right to rape women and, work with all those kinds of rape charities, etc., and educating that part. But also it's the whole thing of conforming from a child, because we don't love ourselves. And this is why I write the children's picture books, because
yeah,
let's grow up teaching ourselves to love ourselves and others, so that we don't have to get into our teenage years and have to try and not fit in and turn to drink and drugs or whatever it is, to
yes.
feel like we need to fit in and escape from ourselves. No, let's embrace ourselves. Let's be confident. And, so it all, I mean, there's just so many other aspects into there that I could go on.
we could we could talk for hours. I know we could, and
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm sure the right people are going to reach after you out to you
Oh,
from this,
I'd
whether
love
it's
to
to
hear from them.
hear about your PR company or
Just even
to
connect. Yeah.
yes, please let them connect with you. Find out about maybe
Love
also
that.
about your books as well. But please connect with Kerryn. She's a beautiful soul. I will put all our information
Thank you.
with this recording as well. Kerryn, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your story, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you as
Rachel,
my guest.
thank you. Thank you so
You're
much for
welcome.
this.
Lots of love.
Thank you. You too.